All right, okay, I'm going to choose our speaker. Our speaker is one of our own members here, Lea Millet. Lea is a licensed professional geologist in the states of Georgia and Florida, was also in Alabama and Mississippi, and Louisiana been licensed, so maybe go there. But she's been in the environmental field for 20 years. I'm going to tell a story. When we first met and started dating, that's right, when we first met, she was actively working on cleaning up a toxic waste Superfund site less than a mile from the house I grew up in. So, perfect! Anyway, here's Lea.
What is hazardous waste? What is it? It's in the news every day. Oh my God, it's toxic. Oh my God, you're going to die. It's hazardous. What is hazardous waste in the very back?
Okay, so I'm thinking it's probably waste that we cannot recycle or reuse in any way or clean up in any way. Safe. It's not.
Wrong.
I get it.
But that is one way to, that is a waste, right? A waste is something that we're not going to use again.
It's something that destroys, a chemical or so that destroys a living thing or body, like whether it be the environment or human or animal.
That is much closer.
I'm not saying it's a waste that's a contaminant or whatever.
So between Dan?
Something that negatively impacts organic material.
Not just organic, but yes, it's got a negative, it can have a negative impact on other things. So, properties that make it dangerous or capable of having harmful effects on human health or the environment. So, not just human health, right, but the environment. So, EPA's definition of hazardous waste, there are 5 ways EPA defines hazardous waste. It can be ignitable, flammable, like corrosive. Think about things like lye, where if it drips on metal, it would eat the metal. Or if you drip it on your hand, it would eat your hand. The other front one. that was self-inflicted, probably. Reactive or explosive. Toxic, which is what word the news uses a lot, right? They use toxic a lot incorrectly, I might add. Because EPA defines toxic, not the news. And listed, which in my technical speak is just nasty. Okay, if it's listed waste, it's disgusting, but it doesn't meet the other 4 criteria to be a hazardous waste. So, one listed waste I've dealt with in the very recent past is pond bottom sludge from a creosote manufacturing facility. So the creosote itself is not listed, but the sludge out of the bottom of the pond from the manufacturing process is. Okay? But that's the thing, the news uses these words a lot incorrectly. There are actually, yes, a lot of things that EPA lists as hazardous waste, but not a lot of the things the news talks about and tells you, oh my God, it's hazardous waste. Probably actually not. Okay? All right. So when you start thinking about the definition of hazardous waste, corrosive, toxic, ignitable, flammable are listed. You should not have listed products in your house. I'm just going to venture that mercury salts from chlorine refining and manufacturing is not something you have laying around, right? Creosote bottom pond sludge. But what do you have in your house? Lisa, what thing hazardous in your house right now? Drain cleaner, Ross.
Bleach?
Bleach. Lewis.
Smoke detector.
Smoke detector?
Yeah.
For the mercury?
No, that's radioactive.
For the what?
It's radioactive.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Look, I learned something. That's awesome. Your smoke detector is radioactive. So routes of exposure to hazardous waste is another topic that EPA defines. But ingestion is a primary route of exposure. Laura, something in your house.
If you're talking about something nasty, cat litter.
Yeah. Not hazardous, but disgusting. We have a cat too, for one more day. So. Yes, Anna? Yes, every single person in here has LED light bulbs in their house, right? The little curly bulbs are like little super bright. We're switching to them. The curly ones have mercury in them. Okay, well, mercury actually is a hazardous waste, and it's in your house. If you have a super old thermostat, the round ones especially, the old round ones, they have mercury in them for hazardous waste. So there's a lot of things in your house that you deal with every day that you don't think of as hazardous waste, right? You just chunk it in the garbage when you don't need it anymore. So it's easy for EPA to come to industry and say, industry, that is nasty. And you have to do very specific things to get rid of it. For example, there's only one hazardous waste landfill in the entire southeast in Email, Alabama. So if I have to ship hazardous waste for what used to be my job, I had to send it to Email, Alabama. Okay? That's the only hazardous waste landfill in the southeast. Everything else that you see that's a landfill is either construction and debris, municipal solid waste, or line subtitle D for non-hazardous waste. Okay? So that gives you an idea. It's easy for industry to come to me and say, you, employee of this big, huge company, have to do what's right with this waste, or we're going to fine you a lot of money. But you, individual consumer with a house full of toxic and corrosive and other nasty products, we can't regulate you, right? How do you regulate Laura and Dwight? How do you go to Laura and Dwight and say, Laura and Dwight, you have to comply with the thousands of pages of REPRA regulations for hazardous waste? Can't do it. So household hazardous waste is exempt by EPA under REPRA. You're not required to do anything special with it. But if you think about it, if everybody in this room tosses one hazardous product in their garbage this week, it all goes to the landfill, right? And then you're mixing all these hazardous things together. And yes, the landfill is lined and blah, blah, but you know what? A lot of those chemicals in particular, break down the clay that the liners are made of, or the synthetics, if it's a synthetic liner. So eventually, the landfill starts to leak, you can impact groundwater, then everybody's up in arms, right? Oh my God, the landfill is impacting our drinking water. Well, guess what? It's doing that because you put stuff in there that you shouldn't have. So, you know, my advice is when you get ready to throw something away, read the label. And if it has one of the 4 common words for what is hazardous waste you would find in your home, toxic, corrosive, ignitable, flammable, you need to do something special with it. Do not just throw it in the garbage. Okay? All right, so I think you guys hit on most of these, right? It can impact the environment, depending on how you dispose of it. It can impact humans if it is ingested or gets in the groundwater. If it's in your garage and you improperly store different wrong types of chemicals next to each other, they can explode. How many people have pesticides sitting next to gasoline in your garage? Awesome, because that's really a bad combination. I see one person sort of being like, right? But you need to store your chemicals correctly because you can cause an explosion just from storing the wrong things next to each other. One of the biggest Superfunds I worked on was they found it because somebody poured something somewhere it shouldn't have been and it exploded, basically. So a pig farm, improper disposal, they poured something that shouldn't have been there, it blew up. EPA said, wow, that's a mess. And as far as I know, that site is still going 30 years later. Okay? All right, we're going to test your knowledge. So far, we've done pretty well. Everybody's come up with one thing hazardous. We got a pretty good definition from everybody. 2 common hazardous household products. Batteries, yes. Mercury in thermostats, thermometers, LED light bulbs. Yes, mercury is actually is naturally occurring, but it's also toxic to humans and wildlife. So here's a bunch of things: bleach, ammonia, pesticide, solvent, herbicide, oils, cleaners. Unless you buy green cleaner, it can be hazardous waste. How are household solvents different from the stuff that I get regulated for at work? What's different about the stuff you have in your house and the stuff we use at work?
Quantity.
Probably quantity. There's no difference.
Yes.
A lot of times, even the concentrations are not different. So if you use 3% hydrogen peroxide at home, right, that's what it comes in, 3% concentration. Okay, well, that's an industrial use also. Sometimes with a better concentration, but it can be 3% the same way. It depends on what you're using it for. There is no difference. The stuff I get regulated on, you have at home too. What should you do with leftover window cleaner?
Drink it.
Throw in the garbage.
Wrong, Justin. Right, I heard mix it with cat litter. The active ingredient in window cleaner is ammonia. It's naturally occurring. In certain concentrations, it's not harmful. But it's, again, it's a concentration issue. How concentrated is it and how much of it is there in a small place? So in this case, you can use it, you can give it away, pour it down the sink, but with plenty of water. So you dilute the concentration, and you don't put a big slug of ammonia in with the fish in the river, which is where our water ultimately goes if you're on city sewer, right? What are 3 words found on hazardous product labels? Flammable, corrosive,
Drink me.
drink me. I hope not. Okay, so if you don't have formal training on hazardous waste, it sounds like you may not even recognize all the words that go with it, right? Danger, poison, warning, caution, toxic, irritant, caustic, flammable, combustible, radioactive, explosive. So now when you go home and you check what's in your house and start reading the labels, here's some things, some keywords, if you will, to look for. So my suggestion is if you have these things, you use it up or dispose of it properly, and then buy some less hazardous alternatives. Why is it hard to know what ingredients are in the product you buy?
They're not always,
Since I don't have the glasses, we're not going to read the whole label.
they don't always have to list them all.
There's no regulations on listing. The print is too small, and us old people who need reading glasses can't see it.
You don't know the concentration.
Huh?
You don't always know the concentration.
Yeah, sometimes it says the concentration, like hydrogen peroxide, 3%, right? That's a common one, or bleach, whatever percent, but, right, but, you know, they don't always list the concentration, but those are all good things. And how many of you have record training? How many of you have been to record training? How many of you have a degree in organic chemistry? One person.
Dan will read all of our labels for us.
Yeah. Okay, well, I have a master's in geochemistry, so, and have spent, like Jared said, 20 years working in environmental, so I can read the labels and know if there's a problem or not. But the general public is not trained for this, right? You guys don't have the training. So all of those things, unfamiliar names, they use vague terms, right? A lot of the chemicals in these things they call trade secret or proprietary, and they don't list them. I mean, they simply tell the government, it's trade secret, we're not going to list it because somebody could steal our formula, Coca-Cola, right? So, which concentrated Coca-Cola syrup, I believe, is actually used. And there are no labeling requirements. All right, proper way to dispose of used motor oil. I'm sorry? Right, an oil change facility, right? They are required by law to take it. They are not required to take it for free. Usually, if it's only a quarter to, they will. But any oil change place, including Walmart or Express Lube, Jiffy Lube, whatever, they're required by law to take it. pour something like motor oil into a storm drain. Those big drains that back up in the street every time it rains, out in front of your house.
Your water was clear.
Yeah, it's drain cleaner, right?
It goes straight into the streams.
Yes. Stormwater is not treated prior to release. It goes straight to the Chattahoochee River. For Atlanta, most of the stormwater in the city goes straight to the Chattahoochee River. So the next time you accidentally get motor oil in the drain, that's where it's going. So it starts killing stuff, right? It starts out small, it kills the primary aquatic producers like phytoplankton, but the things that eat the phytoplankton then don't have anything to eat, and it spirals up the food chain. Where does it go when you pour it in the sink?
The water treatment plant.
If you're on public water, it goes to a wastewater treatment plant. What if you're not on public water?
Septic tank.
Septic tank, right? So what do wastewater treatment plants treat for? A lot of stuff, but not everything. So a lot of things that we pour in the drain and excrete, like medications, right, are not treated for in wastewater treatment. They have certain limits they have to meet to discharge to the river, so the more impacted your river is, the more you have to treat your wastewater. But if it's a pretty clean river and it has a good flow to it, you can discharge an awful lot of stuff. You don't have to treat it, so think about that the next time you buy it. The federal definition of non-toxic?
Is there one?
Something that doesn't kill you immediately. Something that you, yeah?
It's a marketing term. The federal government does not define non-toxic. So on your cans that say non-toxic, like blue and stuff like that, marketing term. Why are empty aerosol cans hazardous? After, like all of us who were alive in the 80s and the whole ozone business, we all remember, right? Why are they hazardous? They're explosive. So the CFCs have been taken out of them for the most part, right? But they're still under pressure, and there can still, you can't fully drain it. There's no way to get all of the propellant out, and the propellant is usually flammable. Who has done the hairspray? So if that can get, subjected to high pressure or heat, it can explode. Not a happy situation. And you think, oh, well, once it's in the garbage, but okay, do you really look like the garbage people are exposed to it too, right? Because they're putting it in and crushing they have that big thing on the truck that crushes it, and at the landfill. Yes.
I think that those cans are also recyclable, so are they doing something about that when it's taken to the recycling warehouse or?
As far as I'm aware, there is no single stream in the greater metro area. In all of the, 16 greater metro area counties, I'm not aware of a single stream recycling facility. So that means in order to recycle a product, you have to separate it out and ship it as recycling. And aerosol cans, as far as I know, are probably not recyclable.
Okay.
I don't think they're recyclable.
Steel might be.
The steel might be, but it's hazardous waste.
Right.
So if you put garbage, essentially, in the recycling, what is the recycling? Garbage. Recycling is something Ross wanted me to talk about, but it's way too complicated to You can ask me about that later. All right, one more set. What solvent cleans latex paint from paintbrushes? What's the universal solvent? Water. Water. Who said water? Water is what cleans latex paint. You don't need anything else.
They're not dry latex.
Huh?
They're not dry latex paint.
No, at that point you just got to throw it away. But the good news is, once it's dry, it's no longer hazardous waste. So if you can dry the latex paint, not hazardous waste anymore. Baking ingredients, non-hazardous cleaners.
Vinegar, baking soda.
Baking soda,
Vinegar.
Salt.
salt. I don't usually bake with vinegar, but I'm going to have to look into that. It is a good cleaning ingredient in our alternatives to aerosol cans. Yeah, squirt bottles, pump bottles, right? Paint brushes instead of spray guns. Common natural predators to help with pesticide use. Ladybugs,
Praying mantis.
cats, praying mantis. Yeah, cats are really effective natural predators. Solar frogs, spiders, dragonflies, birds. Yeah, dogs will eat anything, cats have some things. But think about that, if you are using pesticides around your house, yes, you're killing the bugs, but you're also killing the stuff that eats the bugs, right? So are there things you can do to naturally control the unwanted natural population? As opposed to, because especially frogs, because they're amphibians and soak almost anything up through their skin, you're killing them too by putting pesticides and herbicides out. 2 advantages of alternative compost.
Baking soda and vinegar.
What are the advantages of using baking soda and vinegar?
Volcanoes.
It's safer, right? Well, I would not say no contamination because there's a manufacturing cost associated with everything. So even a bottle of vinegar, not only are you manufacturing the vinegar, you're manufacturing the plastic that is the bottle it goes in, you're creating a waste stream from the manufacturing and a waste stream on your end by throwing it away. So less cost and not no cost. What makes a septic tank work?
Bacteria.
That's right, bacteria, microorganisms. Oh, I guess I got excited and put that one in there twice. Where does hazardous waste go when important is in? I think last time I just said waste, right?
Our water supply.
Yeah, our water supply, wastewater treatment or your septic tank. Bioconcentration.
A little bit in the bottom of the food chain and getting concentrated as it goes up.
That's bioaccumulation. Bioconcentration is an individual organism concentrating toxins in the fat in their body. How many of you suck the heads on crawfish? That is great. That's where they concentrate all the toxic stuff that their body is processing. And look, the rare occasions I eat ribeye, I eat all the fat, so I'll do the same thing, right? All the toxins. All right, so bioaccumulation. Sam?
Yeah.
You say that one wrong?
As one thing eats another, it's concentrated in the food chain.
Right, so we've heard about this, right? Everybody's heard about this in the news, and I think in the 90s, this was in the news a lot, maybe. So, but that's the thing, if you start out with small amounts and small creatures, eventually it becomes big amounts, and big creatures like humans, right? So I don't know if you guys know the story behind PCBs, the way they got regulated. PCBs were really common in the 50s, right? We used it for everything. It's an awesome insulator. Non-flammable, stable, doesn't break down. People in Japan were frying at high temperatures fish that contain PCBs. Well, at high temperatures and fried in oil, it's possible for PCBs to convert to dioxins. And so the people were poisoning themselves, essentially. Not because the PCBs themselves necessarily, but because when they fried it at high temperature, it became dioxin, which is incredibly hazardous to humans. How much household hazardous waste do you have in your house right now? A lot. Without even going to your house, I'm going to tell you it's a lot. If you start going in your cabinets and looking, and especially if you're a homeowner and you have a garage, it's full. So do an inventory, go read your labels, use it up or safely dispose of it, and try to buy safer alternatives. Here are a bunch of resources to help you. I think most of you know we have Earth Day, usually there's a lot of household hazardous waste recycling, right, where they collect things like old cleaners and light bulbs and this and that. And you can, during the year, in particular, the Center for Hard to Recycle Materials, CHARM, is a resource here in Atlanta. When I did, yes,
Do you have to be a resident of Atlanta to use it?
CHARM? I don't think so. I think CHARM is Greater Metro. So it should be Greater Metro, and they will, more than take it themselves, they usually direct you to a resource to get rid of what you're trying to get rid of. How many people have fire extinguishers in their house that are expired? Or do you, have you checked it and do you know?
If you haven't checked, probably raise your hand.
Right. If you haven't looked at it in more than a month, you probably won't replace it. Okay, well, hazardous waste. Because it has the chemicals in it and it's under pressure. So I know that the stuff packs down, you know, and if you do have a fire, you can't use it because you haven't taken it and turned it up and stuff. But if you're trying to get rid of a fire extinguisher that's expired, that's hazardous waste. Okay. So my advice is start reading your labels. When I did this talk at work, I put together this handy dandy flyer with all of this information on it. And Ross is going to put it on or Jared is going to put it on the webpage and on the Facebook so that you guys can get the resources from this slide. Okay? Questions, comments?
So in regards to, say for instance you're shopping and you're looking for like laundry detergent, sometimes you have like Whole Foods or 7-Under where they have some of those products that we, like the more environmentally friendly ones. Would you say that those actually are safer than the typical Tide bleach? Or do you think that's just like marketing?
Almost everything is safer than bleach. Chlorine is a particularly hazardous, a particularly toxic and corrosive chemical to humans and to wildlife. But you'll have to read the label and see. Because they can label it non-toxic and they can label it green, but as far as I know, there's no federal standard for what is green, right, or all natural. So again, it's a marketing word. It's not a regulation that says, like FDA organic, right? There's some kind of small amount of control over who can label what organic. There's nothing like that for green. So, Justin?
How are we supposed to dispose of batteries?
Batteries, take them to Batteries Plus. That's the easiest way. Take them to Batteries Plus.
They can be for free?
Yeah. Every time I've taken them, they have. Yeah.
My Battery Plus went to only taking rechargeables, so not the others, since they're supposed to be disposable now. But polymer, which is like in your cell phones and remote control stuff, you can put that in salt water for like a week or two, I think.
Right, and basically force the reaction.
Right.
So did everybody hear that? Things like cell phones, remote controls, anything probably that has nickel in it, put it in salt water for a week or so, it'll corrode it, and you use up the metal that would cause a hazardous reaction, essentially, before it gets to the one. That's what I do.
And you can toss out that water in, right? That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I would put it in kitty litter. Lisa mentioned kitty litter, and it really is a very good disposal tactic for an awful lot of things. So I recommend kitty litter for a lot.
I have a question. How much kitty litter would you say would be needed to like dispose of a quart of something or a pint of something?
I mean, it depends on how liquid it is, right? Because a quart of latex paint is going to take more kitty litter than a quart of like bleach or something. So, but you know, if you're going to put it in kitty litter, if you can put it in some kind of plastic tray and put it out in the sun, it'll speed that up too, because you evaporate the water off and let it soak up more of the actual problem.
Just want to clarify on the salt water trick. The batteries still have the charge, so don't use a metal container. And always do that outside away from structures because all of those batteries have the potential for explosion or fire. Just like a couple of cases that have happened where like keys will short out somebody's cell phone and it catches fire in their hands or something. You know, that happens like twice a year or something. And millions of cell phones out there, there's an epidemic in the US. So just be careful when you're dealing with these batteries, that they really will catch fire and explode, even the tiny little ones. They will seriously do that. I've seen it and done around it. So just be careful if you're doing that. Use plastic or gas, plastic or glass, like a jar.
You're scaring me for a second. Do not use gas.
Don't use gas.
Right.
No one's in the state use antifreeze.
I'm sorry,
Antifreeze
antifreeze?
from cars.
That's another one that I would take to an oil change place. Any car fluid I would take to an oil change place, and they usually will take it.
Auto parts stores, I'll think about this.
Auto parts stores.
Like
and
Napa
stuff, AutoZone. And that includes lawnmower fluid. We used to take our lawn, like the once every 5 years when we changed the oil in our lawnmower, we would take it to the oil change place.
Do you have a recommendation for like an environmental household
Yeah, Clorox makes one, Seventh Generation makes one, or if you look online, I don't know if it's on the back of this flyer, but I mean, really, truly, baking soda, vinegar, and salt will take care of a lot of things. I mean, you can really clean 99.8% of your house without ever touching anything but baking soda, vinegar, and salt. And there are a million recipes online, and like if you want to get fancy, you can zest lemons and oranges and soak it in the stuff so it smells good. I mean, you know, how excited you want to get about it.
At some point you mentioned that the FDA doesn't look too much into proprietary formulas, but do they still approve something that has a proprietary formula? Seems to me that shouldn't happen, or they didn't.
The way I understand TRI, which is the Toxics Release Inventory, those chemicals that are labeled as trade secret, EPA does not necessarily know what's in them.
So they go ahead and approve a product even though that's unknown? Wow.
Right, because if you think about remember all the stuff that was in the news about, what, 3 to 5 years ago about fracking? All the fracking, and it's all proprietary chemicals, EPA doesn't know what's in that stuff because they label it trade secret and proprietary, and they won't release the constituents because they say, no, somebody could steal our proprietary formula. I think Jared's looking at me like, if you have more questions, I'll be here for the potluck. Please come and ask.